Hello, everyone. My guest today is Ben Latz. He's a personal finance nerd turned software developer. He left his first job out of college after 6 months to launch Wingman, his current company. It's a trade tracker for options traders. 2 years later, he's running it part-time and leads product as a co-founder at The Tie, a fintech data business. All right, Ben, you ready to take us to the top?
Yeah, let's do it.
So where are you spending more of your time, Wingman or The Tie?
Definitely The Tie. So that's my full-time focus, but spending an hour or two a day on Wingman, treating it more as a side project now that it's pretty developed.
Which came first, Wingman or The Tie?
So my involvement was first with Wingman. My good friend for a decade now was actually starting The Tie at roughly the same time. I ended up joining him about 6 months or so after I started Wingman. So the company started around the same time, but I joined The Tie several months later.
So let's sort of break down each quickly. So what does Wingman do?
Yeah, so as I said in the intro, Wingman helps options traders track their trades. And so the best way I can sort of give an analogy is if you could imagine a CFO at a startup, if they had to manually track every single expense in the company in a spreadsheet, versus just having something like QuickBooks, right? That's the level of difference where these options traders who are individuals, they're given no data from their brokerage firms about their trading and their performance and analysis besides a single P&L number year to date. So it's like if a CFO is operating an entire business with a single profit number. So what Wingman does is it imports your trades directly from your brokerage. So that way it handles all the organization, all the analysis, all the tracking, your cost basis, your P&L on every trade. So you don't have to spend any time doing it in a spreadsheet.
Why doesn't, I feel like when I log into my MRR account, I can see some of this sort of breakdown, but it's sort of confusing because they're not software people and they're a big bureaucratic thing. I mean, shouldn't most of them be doing this internally?
You would think so. And it's actually a lot easier for stock. So people who just trade stock, there are plenty of trackers out there that do this just fine. The problem with options trading is it's very complicated. You have multiple expiration dates, positions have multiple contracts within a single position. That position can move from month to month. And so it takes a pretty deep level of experience with options to actually understand how people want to track this and embed all of that domain expertise into a software that does it for you. So that's why there's just nothing really out there that goes this niche, I would say.
I want to spend most of the time on your main focus, which is The Tie, but I want to wrap up Wingmantracker though first. So you launched it in 2017?
I had the idea in 2017. I ended up partnering with a friend from school who helped me build it, and it wouldn't exist without him. We ended up launching in end of May 2018. So yeah, it's been quite the journey.
Did you guys just split equity 50-50?
Yeah, we did that to start, and then adjusted later on, quite recently, just for the shift in balance of work.
So you basically gave some more to him because you're now working on The Tie?
I actually took a little bit more because I've been doing most of the work for the past year or so. Just he has a full-time job and is doing extremely well in his career. So he's sort of he's been a great partner helping me build it, launch it, run it. And now he's more of sort of an advisor role where we talk very frequently about it. But I've been doing all the development, all the design, customer support, that sort of thing.
Got it. And how many customers does Wingman have today?
Right now, there's 180 paying customers and about 80 people on their free trial.
Okay, got it. I mean, so can I take 180 times your minimum price point, 49? I mean, it's doing like 8, 9, 10 grand a month, something like that?
Not quite. So there are people who are grandfathered in. From day one, we charged a price. So the introductory price was $25 a month. And just out of respect to people who sort of latched on early, I'm happy to carry them forward. But right now it's just a $49 tier or $490 for the year. And so it's currently at about 6,000 MRR.
Okay, so I mean, you're building something that has some initial traction, you clearly like it. How do you know that the right thing to do is spend less time on it and go focus on this new thing called The Tie?
Yeah, I mean, this has been a constant, thing in my head for the past year and a half plus, because on the one hand, it's really nice to have two things at the same time from a diversification and interest standpoint. And that sort of thing. But it also can lead to burnout and be really frustrating as to figure out like, what should I spend my time on? I'm doing the same exact skills and activities in terms of web development with both because I'm building the product for both. But it became quite clear early on, and this is sort of why I joined the tie in the first place. The nature of the opportunity in the market for the tie is just much larger. So I can take the same skills and effort and put that into the tie for just a much more leveraged effect of what I could put into Wingman.
So what is the tie?
Yeah, the tie where we focus primarily on two types of data for the cryptocurrency space. So the first is we're an official Twitter partner. So we leverage their fire hose and calculate real-time investor sentiment on hundreds of cryptocurrencies. And we feed that. We sell APIs to hedge funds and other market participants. Our partner that we spun off of has been doing that for 10 years.
Who'd you spin off of?
It's a Chicago-based company called Social Market Analytics. They're one of the leading providers of that social sentiment data for the equity space.
And walk me through how that worked, though. How'd that connection? Your partner work there or something?
Yeah, there's some connections in terms of just existing business relationships in previous companies. Yeah, it's kind of a long story, but there is a close connection that spans 10 years.
I see. So for someone that is listening right now that is not super familiar with all of this stuff, I mean, is there a way that can you explain this to like me, like make it like dumb it down?
Which part exactly?
The tie, right? So like if you asked me to explain it back to you right now, what I would tell you is there's this new cryptocurrency called the Nathan coin. All of a sudden this morning, your tool realized that 1,000 people were tweeting things and they had smiley emojis in the tweet. So your NLP is saying, hey, there's bullish sentiment on this thing. It's going to keep spiking. And so you quickly sell that data to hedge funds who maybe have a live pipeline to you and they go buy some of the token for hedging or to get some of the upside. Is that sort of how it works?
Sure. That's close enough. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of technology that goes into it, but that's the general idea. The other half of the tie really quickly is something we've developed over the past year and a half, which is we're going out and live scraping from 1,200 plus direct sources. And the whole idea is that if you look at a traditional space like equities or stocks, all of their information about what moves the market, like corporate actions, a CEO get firing, an SEC filing, all of those are very standardized, but there's nothing that can actually understand the live market moving events in crypto. So what we did was over 1,200 sources, we developed topic models to really isolate what's happening. What coin is it about? What event is it? Is it a partnership? Is it a hack? Is there a scam going on? And we're delivering that, sub 5 minutes from around the world to our participants with a very similar goal of just getting information faster than everyone else. Because that stuff can really move the market. Like, for example, if a coin gets listed on Coinbase, it's probably going to go up 20 or 30%.
What's the team look like today? How many people?
So it's co-founder Josh and I with a couple advisors. We're based in the US. He's in California. I'm in Austin. And then we have a great team of developers that we work with in Pakistan, which is about 4 other full-time developers. So we're really just all developers, and Josh really carries the team on sales.
A lot of SaaS founders have heard that it's smart to build these sort of outsourced development teams. There's a lot of talented people over there, but they're just scared. They don't know how to start, right? So let's just start with like the obvious question. I mean, when you say 4 really smart people full-time in Pakistan, well, I mean, total expenses on that is what, like 4, 5, 10, 30, 50 grand a month?
Well, we have a certain arrangement with the development firm, and this is a development firm we've had a long-standing relationship with. So that's sort of the caveat, I would say. So we have sort of an in-kind arrangement where they're providing discounted rates as in exchange for some equity in the company. So that allows us to keep our cash burn in control. And we're profitable at this point. But when people ask me about outsourcing development, I'm definitely hesitant to say like, just, go find someone. This is a company, they're based in Chicago. They have offices around the world. We feel really
What's their name?
The development company is called SSI.
And you brought that connection, or Josh did?
So they're actually the same development firm that Social Market Analytics uses. So it's still a long-running relationship that we feel great about. These are not just people that we found for the sake of the tie.
Yeah, this is Strategic Systems International in Chicago. They clearly know what they're. I'm just looking them up on LinkedIn.
Yeah, they're super smart guys.
It's like 300 employees. They know what they're doing.
Yeah, exactly. I wouldn't just go find someone, random overseas.
Now, so what happened here? Because so when I look at the tie on Crunchbase, you are not listed as a co-founder, and you did not mention Eric Frank or Josh Frank, which maybe they're related, but are they still involved with the company?
Josh is my co-founder.
Oh, sorry, Joseph Gitz. What about Joseph and Josh Frank?
Yeah, so Joe is the CEO of Social Market Analytics. So he and Eric are sort of our co-founding advisors. Josh and I are really the day-to-day operations co-founders.
Oh, I see. Okay, got it. So when you said earlier your team size is 2, you were referencing you and Josh Frank. Eric Frank Correct. And Josh Gitz are kind of more like, they have equity, but they're more like advisors, not operational.
Yep. There you go.
I see. Okay. Talk to me about the tool. Sounds compelling and interesting. How are you pricing? Like a lot of people will price against number of API calls. Some do a seat-based model. How are you pricing?
Yeah. So for our sentiment API, that's just a flat fee. No hard API limits per se. And what?
Like a flat fee per month?
Yeah, flat fee per month. And our SigDev product, which is our sort of real-time event sourcing, that is a flat fee and then per month per seat.
Okay, flat fee. Okay, then per month per seat.
So it's sort of like an entry price. You get 3 seats by default, and then each additional seat is a certain cost.
If you look at your total revenue last month, what % was your API tool versus your SigDev product?
So the tie is really interesting because we've gone through such a transition of just product market fit and seeing what sticks. And so at this point, we started generating like notable revenue earlier this year, and it's really a conglomeration of so many. There's some random consulting projects in there, some random this or that, but really our SigDev product is where it's starting to really take hold.
Crypto, SigDev, the corporate action.
Yeah, there's just so many market participants. Like basically anyone in the market who needs access to information in a timely manner is a customer. So it could be publications. Currently it's driving about 50% of breaking news in crypto comes from our tool. So we're providing those events to publications themselves, so then they can write about it. So it's kind of the news before the news.
Yeah.
Law firms, hedge funds, really anyone who needs that timely information.
So about how much is SigDev doing per month right now?
So I feel totally comfortable disclosing as much as I want about Wingman. The tie, we're definitely a little bit more reserved at this point, just because it's so scattered and still getting our feet. But the tie is doing extremely well. Sorry.
Well, I guess maybe a better question might be when you said earlier this year the whole company altogether started making notable revenue. I mean, what would notable be? What would you consider notable?
Yeah, I mean, we are well above our cash burn per month. As I said, I'm happy to talk about Wingman in terms of revenue and structure and all that, but the tie is not something we're really disclosing at this point. Well,
and it's really because it sounds like you have a minority stake. There's a lot of people with equity in this, so you feel like you'd have to get like their approval first, right?
Yeah, I mean, Wingman is definitely it's my thing. The tie is sort of this company that I'm leading product, minority co-founder in, spending most of my energy, but happy to share as much about Wingman.
When you say minority, does that mean less than 20% equity that you own in the tie?
Yeah. And we have really strategic partners. And so that the cap table has been divvied up among them, which allows us to access all this technology without significant development cost.
I think it makes a lot of sense. I mean, I'm reading your SigDev product. You say it parses over 1,000 sources real time, including exchange announcements, court cases, Chinese publications, token issuer blogs, regulatory filings, and more. I mean, this is not an easy sort of data scraping thing to build. So I could totally see why you would give SSI a meaningful chunk of the company to save cash flow on dev costs.
Yeah, no, this is serious stuff. And if we had to build it all, from scratch at full cost, I don't think it would be possible.
Mm-hmm. What do you think it would cost to build this from scratch at full cost?
I couldn't even tell you. I mean, hundreds of thousands of dollars to build all this technology, at least, probably a few million. I mean, because SMA's technology, they've been building over the past 10 years. We just took that technology and brought it into crypto using our domain expertise. And similarly, we have a partner for the SigDev product to provide the base infrastructure. We just took that to crypto. So we're really just injecting our knowledge into existing technology and sort of building on that.
So let me ask you a question. I mean, if this is like super valuable, right, which it sounds like it is, you actually list, I think, some of your Pakistan team on the website. Saeed, Shabir, Junaid, Mohammed, Amir. They're listed here with their LinkedIn profiles. If I'm Coinbase or I'm someone that's like, let's say you're trying to sell one of your current enterprise accounts on the Thai to move them from like a $5,000 a month plan to like a $50,000 a month plan. I'm going to say, you know what, screw it. I'm just going to go recruit Saeed and Shabir off their website and bring them on, like Coinbase. I'll bring them on full time to Coinbase. How do you think about that?
I mean, that wouldn't really work. Sort of the relationships we have in place and the exclusivity deals that we have, in a sense, don't even allow any other company to access either the sentiment technology or the SigDev technology unless they come through us. So we have exclusive access to both of those with respect to crypto.
So as what you're saying is SSI sort of built this tool internally and you guys have essentially licensed it with the crypto angle for the Thai?
I know it sounds super complicated. We have another partner called ROI that helps us with the SigDev technology. So SSI is really, their role is helping us ingest the data from both SMA and ROI and help us build the front end products and the APIs that are sort of wrappers around those.
What is SMA?
SMA is social market analytics.
And what is ROI?
That's the sentiment data. Robotic online intelligence.
Okay, and how did you meet them?
Again, it's existing relationship from previous business.
Got it. Something like from from Wingman or from Josh?
From Josh's side of things. Yeah.
I see.
Yeah, I know it's super complicated, but
well, so if this is so exciting, why isn't he doing this full time?
Who?
Josh.
Oh, he is. This is his only thing that he's working on.
Sorry, Eric Frank.
Oh, he's the CEO of a couple billion-dollar company. So.
Okay, got it. Which company?
Yeah. His company is called Lightbox. That's a whole other story, but yeah, he has his hands more than full.
Got it. Okay, interesting. That's sort of real estate platform, potentially also a data play.
Yeah, it's a sort of private equity real estate data play.
Yeah, interesting. So he could probably bring some strategic buyers into your world, like hedge funds that have real estate exposure, but also now want crypto exposure.
Yeah, right. And what is interesting is ROI's technology for parsing headlines and aggregating information actually came from the real estate industry. We took that into crypto. So there's a bunch of moving pieces that all sort of came together.
Dude, I freaking love this though. I love all these moving pieces. Yeah. I just think the challenge for someone like you is, I mean, you look like you're maybe younger than me even, is like you're young. Are you single?
Yeah, I'm 24.
24, you probably keep your expenses really freaking low. Right now in your life is the time where you want to take the biggest risks, and you've made the decision to partner with some really smart people for a much smaller stake of the company versus continuing to build a Wingman. That's an interesting sort of choice.
Yeah. No, I mean, and Wingman is actually really at the core of my story because, as you mentioned, I left my job in a company in the options trading industry in order to launch Wingman to avoid any sort of potential conflict of interest. So that's really sort of my bootstrapping story where, my partner Piyush and I for Wingman built it from scratch. That's how I learned web development in the first place. I studied finance, but I wanted to build Wingman. So I learned how to do web development, really latched onto it. And Wingman's only grown from word of mouth. And so, yeah, I keep my expenses super low. I saved, 60% of my salary when I was working full time. So that let me leave my job comfortably, live out the rest of my lease, that sort of thing. So it's pretty amazing to see that it's actually come here. I mean, the original goal with Wingman was, Piyush and I were like, how can we just meet our living expenses? Right. That was like the ultimate goal, because even though we didn't see Wingman being our, road to riches, I've been starting small businesses since middle school. And I know that each time you do something, it just gives you more exposure to things. And it's just a piece of the puzzle. So if all we could do is get to, $2,500 a month each or whatever, that sort of unlocks us where we feel the freedom to really sort of escape the job world.
So speaking of freedom, I mean, Wingman does $6,000 a month. If Ameritrade comes and offers you $100,000 to sell the company today, all cash up front, do you sell?
Oh no, that would be too low. I mean, if you're already, because it's all profit, right? I don't have any expenses, so I'm happy to just keep operating it, building great product. I do the customer support, but I've mostly automated everything. So the only thing I have to do is maybe 20 minutes a day of customer support.
So what would Ameritrade or someone like that have to offer where you and Push actually take it seriously?
I mean, I don't have an exact number, but it would have to be, a pretty decent multiple on annual revenue, since right now, we haven't done any.
What's decent though? Like 3x, 5x, 10x?
I don't know. I mean, not an. I don't see really a point in giving an exact number, but for some context, from word of mouth, it's growing about 10% month over month. So
I get it, Ben. I get it. I get all that. But my point is, though, is like you have another big opportunity right now. It's only if you're building it for cash flow. And the analysis you're doing is you guys are each making $3,000 a month right now on cash flow, right? So it's that versus if someone wrote you a massive check today and you just instead of having to wait 3 years to get $3,000 a month and you just got $100,000 today, what you could do with that in terms of compound interest over time. That's the math you're doing.
Yeah, totally.
So yeah, you're a finance guy. I don't believe that you haven't thought about this, right? Like, what's the number today?
I've definitely thought about it. If today, right now, if I was able to take all the risk off the table, looking at something like 500,000, which I know is a high multiple, to me, that would be like a reasonable number where I say, okay. And the reason why I'm okay not just getting it off my hands is because I enjoy running it. It does not take a lot of effort at all. There's no expenses and it's growing well. So I don't really see a reason to sort of sell it short.
Yeah. So 500K would be 250 grand to both you and Push. Well, actually a little less to Push because you take a little more equity. So call it 300 to you, 200 to him. After taxes, it's like 160, 170. And you're saying, okay, at that point, it makes sense to take 160 cash after tax today versus waiting and getting 3K per month, for the next, 20 years.
Yeah. And even then, like that amount of money would be great, but it's really not life changing. So at this point, what I'm focused on is how can I enable myself to do, free up the most of my time and focus on what I want to focus on. And, oftentimes with an acquisition, what would come is a lot more responsibility potentially with that.
Not always. I mean, if there's an earnout, yeah, but not always.
Yeah. Well, if there was, right. So that would be a consideration as well, where at this point, it lets me do whatever I want to do. It's a really great backup plan. It covers my living expenses. So, it's just nice to have in the back of your pocket.
I hear you. All right, let's wrap up with the famous 5. Number 1, favorite business book.
I don't have any favorite book, but I will do a special shout out to the Tropical MBA podcast.
Number 2, is there a CEO you're following or studying?
I follow quite a few. My Twitter following list is probably the best place, but definitely focused around sort of the micro SaaS bootstrapping community. And there's some obvious main hitters there.
Pick one.
I really like Nathan Barry, and there's plenty others.
Why do you like Tropical MBA? Do you have a connection? Is that Chris? I forget. Is it Chris Drucker?
No, that's Dan Andrews and Ian Schoen. The thing I really like about Tropical MBA is they focus on lifestyle business and really more of a holistic picture, right? So they're focused on people who are mostly digital nomad, but I don't necessarily relate to that. They're just focused on how can you design a business around the life that you want to have. And the unique takes that they have are pretty refreshing. It's given me a lot of thought over the past 2 years of different aspects of just how to see your path and what you want to focus on.
Number 3, what's your favorite online tool for building your company?
Ooh, that's a good one. So I think Zapier is really cool. I'm just sort of a nerd for automation. I like automating things if I'm not doing it by scratch. One tool I'd love to shout out is Hatchbox, created by Chris Oliver. That handles basically all my DevOps. So in a click of a button, it's really easy to just manage and deploy my Wingman code. So it's a really great tool.
Can you spell it? Hatch what?
Hatchbox.io.
I was going to say Hatchbox is something else. 3D Filaments. Hatchbox.io. Got it. VPS hosting providers. Okay. Very cool. Yeah. Number 4, how many hours of sleep do you get every night?
8.
And what's your situation? Well, it sounds like 24. Single?
Yeah, single.
No kids running around?
Not yet.
All right. And last question. Take us back 4 years. What's something you wish you knew when you were 20?
Yeah, I mean, that is not too long ago, but the thing that I definitely remember feeling when I was a senior in college is just not thinking that it was even possible for a very long time to pay your own bills doing your own thing. I thought you had to get a job. And even though there are a lot of perks to that, there is a path to making your living expenses very quickly outside of school if you have some good, skills that you can find a way to monetize.
Guys, wingmantracker.com, trade tracking for options traders. Ben has hustled his way, his 24 today, he's hustled its way to $6,000 a month in revenue, covers expenses. It's a great sort of thing to have in his back pocket as he doubles down on a minority stake in a much larger company, larger potential at least, called The Tie, which is really a crypto sort of analytics tool, breaking news from trusted sources tied to some very, very smart people that have done this in other industries. We'll see what happens. We'll see which one gets bigger, faster. But Ben, in the meantime, thanks for taking us to the top.
Yeah, thanks so much.
One more thing before you go. We have a brand new show every Thursday at 1 p.m. Central. It's called Shark Tank for SaaS. We call it Deal or Bust. One founder comes on, 3 hungry buyers, they try and do a deal live, and the founder shares back-end dashboards, their expenses, their revenue, ARPU, CAC, LTV, you name it, they share it, and the buyers try and make a deal live. It is fun to watch every Thursday, 1 p.m. Central. Additionally, remember, these recorded founder interviews go live. We release them here on YouTube every day at 2 p.m. Central. To make sure you don't miss any of that, make sure you click the subscribe button below here on YouTube, the big red button, and then click the little bell notification to make sure you get notifications when we do go live. I wouldn't want you to miss breaking news in the SaaS world, whether it's an acquisition, a big fundraise, a big sale, a big profitability statement, or something else. I don't want you to miss it. Additionally, if you want to take this conversation deeper and further, we have by far the largest private Slack community for B2B SaaS founders. You want to get in there. We've probably talked about your tool if you're running a company or your firm if you're investing. You can go in there and quickly search and see what people are saying. Sign up for that at nathanlatka.com/Slack. In the meantime, I'm hanging out with you here on YouTube. I'll be in the comments for the next 30 minutes. Feel free to let me know what you thought about this episode. And if you enjoyed it, click the thumbs up. We get a lot of haters that are mad at how aggressive I am on these shows, but I do it so that we can all learn. We have to counter those people. We got to push them away. Click the thumbs up below to counter them and know that I appreciate your guys' support. All right, I'll be in the comments. See ya.